Welcome back to Stratazine. We've got a great panel today. We've got, I'm here with Eden, Lindsay, and a trio of pages. Page F, Page H, and Page J. So today we're going to be talking about a topic that's not necessarily new in social media, but maybe a different way of looking at influencers, and are influencers the way of maybe social media ad future. So I know you all have been doing a lot of work and looking into this for the last several weeks. So why don't we kick off? Eden, why don't you start us off and kind of tell us what you've been looking at?
Yeah, I'd love to. So recently I've been studying about different case studies and academic articles, specifically on social media advertising. And from that, I've learned it works, which is great. But more importantly, there's certain steps that people can take to find the best match for them when they pursue this. So let's take a look into it.
Social media influencers, SMIs, are rapidly taking over the advertising world. Based on recent case studies and academic research, here are some main takeaways to consider. Research points to specific influencer attributes that divide consumers to purchase products SMIs advertise. A study in the Journal of Marketing Communications focused on influencers endorsing keto products in Jordan. They found and created this graph to identify traits that relate to consumer purchases. From the May 2025 International Journal of Consumer Studies, it suggests that when picking an SMI for a product endorsement, to go for someone who emotionally connects with their followers. This promotes trust and will lead to higher sales. A study involving fashion and SMIs found in Paper Asia determined a huge impact to product sales relies on the attractiveness of the SMI advertising. Data from Expert Systems shows that SMI advertising is increasing impulsive buying. This graph shows the typical traditional reasons for impulsive buying, and below are the reasons why SMI ads have amplified this behavior. These case studies show that SMI advertising is a smart, effective way to promote products, but it's important to be picky on who you choose to work with. For Stratazine, I'm Eden Rowe.
Awesome. Yeah, so that kind of goes a little bit more in depth. And people, if anyone's interested in learning more, I strongly encourage to look at our resources, not just for my section, but for all of our sections. So a lot of those case studies were really fascinating because they all talked about similar attributes that relate to higher consumer purchases. And one of the ones that I found the most interesting was picking a person who relates to the clients and the product that you're trying to sell. So I'm totally going to expose myself here. For me, I really like watching videos about homesteads. I'm just addicted. They're great. But watching videos with homesteads, I specifically like watching things with waterfowl, which is kind of interesting. I have an obsession with ducks. I think they're adorable, you know. But a few weeks ago, I noticed that one of the people I can watch a lot was advertising hygiene products. And that was what they were trying to promote their viewers to buy. And I felt like it just didn't relate to who they were as a person. It would have made more sense, in my opinion, if a company that sold ducklings or duck food reached out to them and they advertised about that instead of personal hygiene products. So I guess from your guys' input, have you seen that as well? And how do you recover, you know, if you end up picking someone that isn't actually the best for your product? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I definitely think it's important to make sure that, you know, your product is reaching the right target audience. And so that can be a challenge for sure. It's finding the right person to promote the brand, because otherwise it will reach the wrong target audience, and it will either not stick or people will try the product and probably not be very happy with it. But yeah, that's an interesting thing to consider.
I think people tend to create real relationships with influencers they don't know personally, even TV personalities, celebrities, things like that. And so when you have kind of a disconnect like you're talking about, why the heck is that person talking about that thing? It almost is like when you have a friend that says something that offends you or changes your relationship. I'm guessing probably views go down because we feel like that relationship's been violated. Hey, there's something that's not lining up here. It's not the behavior I expected from you. And so now I have to kind of grapple with that to determine what am I going to do moving forward?
Yeah.
I feel like it also kind of is going to see if they're credible or not. For me, my daddy has a PhD, and so I trust him pretty much everything. He just knows so much, and he just knows how to do everything, like, for me. And so if I have a problem with my math homework, I'm going to go to him and be like, how on earth do I do this? But if I go to my mom, who knows a lot of other things, but maybe not math stuff, I'd rather go to my dad than my mom in that thing, because he has that credit towards him. And so I feel like it's similar to that, but just with social media and products instead.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that leads really well into kind of our next point. Like, thanks, Eden, for kind of getting us started off here. So, page F, you looked at kind of the difference in, like, yeah, who are we using? Like celebrities, social media influencers. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so first we kind of researched what is the difference between an influencer and a celebrity. And you know, the celebrities are your TV stars, your music artists, those people, even like Olympic athletes, they will often promote a lot of like sports drinks and things like that. But then you have your influencers who are kind of out there in the real world, as one might say, and they're, you know, trying these products from their homes with their families, and maybe it's a little bit more relatable. So, yeah, we can take a look into that.
Today we'll be talking about celebrity marketing versus influencer marketing. First of all, to identify the difference, is a celebrity is someone who has gained recognition through media like TV and film. And then influencers have gained recognition through personal content on social media platforms. So this is just showing an example of TikTok campaign performance and how celebrity campaigns for these different creators and brands will boost the campaign. That you can see that the celebrity has a lot more engagement in the comments and the shares than the brand and the creator. And so it's a really good tool for them to use to promote their brand. And this quote, it says, that big chunk of social media marketing budget you're allocating to A-list partnerships, it's paying off, especially if your target objective is brand awareness. Not only do celebrity-led posts rack up significantly more views, but they are also shared more, talked about more, and maintain the highest engagement rate overall. So these celebrity campaigns are really helping to boost brands. And same thing with influencer marketing status. 90% of consumers trust peer recommendations. Consumers are 71% more likely to make a purchase based on social media referrals. And then if you can see at the bottom, 81% of US consumers trust advice and information from blogs. It just goes to show that the brand itself can be promoted well by the maker of the brand, but these influencers are really helping to show the audience that these things have been tried and true and that they're reliable and people will really trust those sources.
Yeah. So these influencers are considered our peers, I guess. And so my question would be, why do we tend to put more stock into what the influencers are promoting us to do rather than those celebrity influencers? Because they do influence us a little bit, those celebrities, but I think that it's been shown that those influencers have a little bit more leverage with their audience when it comes to promoting brands. So what do you guys think?
I feel like influencers are just more real. Like, they seem more like real life people. Have you guys seen Jane on Instagram?
Yes.
I love her. She's awesome. And so
funny.
for those of you who don't know her, she is just a content creator, and she kind of makes fun of influencers, as she is one. She makes fun of like the, hi, good morning, like I woke up looking perfect and now I'm going to promote this awesome product. But it almost makes her more relatable because they recognize that, okay, sometimes that's not how it actually works, but she's able to help promote products. And like, I feel like I would trust her more because she seems more relatable.
I agree. I feel like it kind of comes down to like that vulnerability. Like, I feel like with celebrities, like you see them like act a lot and all that. It's like you can't really tell what's real. But when you do see things like day in the life videos and stuff like that, you kind of see like, oh, like these are normal average people that are just living their lives. And so it's a little bit more easier to connect with them. And like, you know, I also watch Jane, and like every time she comes up, I watch her videos because they're funny, and I like to like connect with like certain celebrities in that way, or not celebrities, influencers.
I think in the back of each of our minds, we know celebrities. Paige, like you mentioned in your video, that we recognize them from like Hollywood, like TV and movies. And at a certain age, it clicks over that those people are just pretending. And so when you see them, like there's even celebrities I know by their character name. I don't know what their real name is, right? And so like my kids right now, it's like, oh, that's Iron Man. It's not Robert Downey Jr. Like that's Iron Man, right? And so if they were to see him promoting all of the other stuff that he does, I think there's an aspect of like that guy's pretending that carries over outside of where we see them in film and TV, which again, I think goes to the point you're making, like influencers do seem a little bit more trustworthy because we don't have that, oh, these people are pretending, even though they may be, it doesn't maybe click in our minds that way, I guess.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So that kind of goes to our next question, right? Page J, you kind of looked into like, okay, like why do we do this? Is there like emotions behind this? Like what's going on with this influencer thing?
Yeah, so the past few weeks, I have been digging more of my research, just a little bit the psychological side of why all of us are so connected with influencers or even celebrities. And I personally believe, and throughout my research, that not only that we enjoy or like love content so much, but at the same time, there's something about the influencer that we can relate to so much, like on a personal level. And we can go right in and just discuss more about it. Let's talk about how people form emotional connections with social media influencers just by watching their content. First, videos that spark strong emotions like joy, sadness, or even surprise make it easier for viewers to feel connected. Emotional visuals stick with us. People are more likely to trust and act on content when they believe the influencer is genuine. Social proof also plays a role. If others are following or buying, we tend to feel like we should too. We often build parasocial relationships, meaning we feel personally connected to influencers through repeated exposure, even if we've never met them. This one-sided bond makes their content and recommendations feel more meaningful. Relatable stories, consistent content help deepen that emotional connection. The more human and authentic the content feels, the stronger the bond. Influencers today are more than just content creators. They're becoming trusted figures. People don't just watch their content, they connect with it. That's what makes influencer marketing so powerful. I'm Paige Johnson. So, my recap from what I've been researching is from what I've mentioned earlier, that not only that we would feel super connected with just like the content, and we just love watching like their videos, but also there's like the personal side of them, like how we can relate to an influencer and a celebrity so much with like they can share like their personal side of like their stories and things. And we all have influencers in our lives that we can relate with and connect with so much and we just look up to. So have you guys ever felt emotionally connected with an influencer, and how did that influencer make you feel trusted?
Yeah, that's a really good question. For me personally, like, so I have a daughter, as you guys know. Yay. But I used to watch like a lot of videos regarding like because when you're pregnant, it's not really fun. Not gonna lie. Sorry, everyone. But it's not a super enjoyable experience for me, at least. But it was really interesting because I would watch videos about like influencers and like what they did to deal with like dealing with pregnancy symptoms and things like that. And that helped a lot because I was like, whoa, I'm not alone. Like I'm not going crazy. Like stuff is happening to me in my body and like I'm sick all the time and I like that's just normal. This is great, you know. So that helped a lot for emotional connection to feel like seen in a weird sense. But yeah, that's kind of my experience with that.
Yeah,
I love
think,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think celebrities are like, or I mean, influencers are put in an interesting position because they need to be very open with their lives. And a lot of thousands and thousands of people know about their families and things. But I think that helps with those, with their audience, like to let people in on their family and their vulnerable experience with pregnancy or on their love life. And people as they watch and consume that content, they get invested in that part of their lives. And so then that trust is built, that emotional connection is built. I don't think we realize that it's happening, but we do have an emotional connection with these people that we've never met. And I feel like that's why we tend to trust them a little bit more when they're trying to tell us, hey, you should buy this. So, yeah.
Yeah, going to that parasocial relationship. Have you guys seen the show? I don't think it's on anymore. It's called This Is Us. It was on NBC.
Yeah.
So I just followed kind of all kinds of this dynamics of this different family, right? There's like aspects of adoption and blended families and all these kind of things. And it was kind of just like a real show that a lot of people gravitated towards. Spoiler alert here. One of the characters dies. Actually, like one of the really like the father of the family. And he dies in a way where he's like saving his kids and family from a house fire.
Oh, wow.
And in a subsequent episode, it came out that the house fire in this show, not real, right? Was started by a crock pot brand slow cooker, like that shorted out in the kitchen. And people in real life boycotted crock pot to the point where their stock went so low that the producers of the show from NBC held a press conference to remind people, this is not real. This person did not die in real life.
Yeah.
Lay off this brand, basically,
Wow.
because it was having real life consequences. And it goes to the right page, what you were talking about, that parasocial, like that emotional connection between this fake character, and we can see this with influencers, was very real for a lot of people, right? And that kind of gets us into kind of maybe like, what are the cons of this, right? So turning to our last page, page H, that's kind of what you looked at, is like, okay, what's the flip side of this?
Yeah.
What'd you find?
Yeah, so I just kind of researched and studied that little bit of why do we trust social media influencers so much? Like we've been talking about, okay, they're awesome and that's cool, that's their job and everything, but I don't know them. So why on earth am I trusting them? And maybe what are the cons of it and everything? And so we can watch a video about that and then we can discuss it.
My name is Paige Hale, and I'm in this podcast, and I will be working on learning about social media influencers and why we trust them so much. We're with the Stratazine. And so this is part of what I'm learning. I really want to give or have a video on giveaways and on influencers and their content and why we as viewers trust them so much. So I have this paragraph that I want to talk about or maybe dive deeper. It says giveaways involve influencers promoting a contest where participants have chances to win prizes provided by your brand. And so that is talking about how influencers try to grasp your attention and how we as viewers are interested by it. Another one that I want to talk about is social media influencers and how they have immense power over consumer decisions and cultural norms. This is talking about why we pay so much attention to them. And I want to talk a lot about how a lot of times the influencers share the pros of a product, but they don't share the cons of the product. So how come we're trusting them? Another one I want to talk about is how influencers, they appear to be wealthy, but we don't know if they actually are or not. And so we want to learn how to trust them as real people and not just as them up on a pedestal. And so I want to talk about that and the cons to following them, but also the pros to following them too. And these are all just from websites that I want to study more about. One is about how individuals have built up a community of people from their own interest. And this is talking about these influencers and kind of their audience and their viewers. And I want to get some examples from them and get examples of people having experiences with influencers, of being influenced and getting a product and whether they liked it or not, or how they would go about it in a different way.
Wow. That was my video. And so in that, I was talking a lot about how we keep mentioning trust, and trust is so important, but why? Why are we trusting these people that we don't even know? And with the cons, I think that it's interesting because I don't know if I've ever really have seen an influencer like post on social media saying, hey, don't get this product. Maybe they'll say, don't get this product, but they won't say, this product is super awesome, but beware of this. Or this is awesome, but maybe don't do this one instead. And so I think that's really interesting that we just go towards the positive side of things, which is great, but sometimes we need to see the negative so we know what to look forward to in the positive. And so there's an example like My mom, she gets easily influenced. She loves like the cups, like Stanley cups or hydro jugs or hydro flasks. I feel like we just always keep getting them, and then my whole family tries them out. We're like, oh, I like them better for this and this. But for the influencers, for Stanley, we never saw anything about like they spill very often. It was just, oh, this is a nice mug and it's an awesome straw and it has a handle. And that was like everything that we wanted. But the Stanleys spill a lot. I'm also just a clumsy person, so I'm like, maybe that was it, but they just tip and the water goes everywhere. But once I started using the hydro jug, I realized that it didn't spill as much, and that was a lot easier for me to use. So I don't use a Stanley anymore. Now I use hydro jug or an Owala bottle because I have the straw that I still like and the handle, but they don't spill. And so that's an example of the cons of it might have been nice to know, hey, this is a really cool mug, but there is still a con that comes from it, and that's from spilling or whatever it is. So a question that I had for you guys is, when was there a time where you guys were influenced? What was the product? Maybe what were the pros and cons from it? What do you wish you would have known beforehand, if you have any experiences about that?
I'm thinking of an example from my mom. Like, she's also easily influenced, but in a frugal way, I guess. And so there's this influencer who's always posting about these like protein powders, and I feel like every month it's like a different kind of protein powder that they're trying, which means it's a different kind of protein powder every month that we're trying. And I think in our own way we've done the experimenting along with them, and we've found that we like different things than the influencer likes. And so it's not always going to work out where they are like accurate in all of the ways that they are promoting it, but they show a video of like them in their home trying it and their kids trying it and things like that, that like kind of shows us, oh, it's good and it's affordable. And so that's kind of what draws us in.
Yeah, that kind of like ties along what is similar to what you've mentioned. I know that everybody is different. When we're trying out new things, everybody might like something that is like, oh, I can really trust this product, but there are people that also have their own opinions and things. So yeah, it just,
I love it. I'm grateful that we have the opportunity to have our own opinions. Because how
Exactly.
boring would it be if everyone's like, no, you have to do this, right? We have agency that we learn about. And I love that we can have our agency, even when it's talking about protein powders or about water bottles, or which is better, Mountain Dew or Dr. Pepper or whatever it is. We get to have our own opinions. So I think it's great to have these influencers help maybe guide us in different directions, but ultimately it's up to us. And it's okay if we don't agree with them or if we don't choose what they say. But it's nice to have someone who has an inside scoop, who's like, hey, I've tried this product. This is my experience with it. And you just have to take it with a grain of salt, I think.
You know, it's interesting that you brought that up, because in research that I conducted earlier, one of the stuff it talked about was actually how influencers will encourage people to develop their own opinions on the product, and that encourages consumer purchases more, because it's like, oh, yeah, like this is something that works for me. It doesn't work for everyone, but you can try it out and see if you like it. So that's actually like a pro as well. And unfortunately, I've never bought anything from social media influencers. I'm a fraud. But so I wasn't really able to answer that specific question. But yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting because we tend to forget maybe sometimes that like these influencers aren't trying these products out of the goodness of their heart, right? Maybe a few of them, are doing that. But, being in PR, like there's a very real world where companies put together these PR kits and send them. And so I think that the expectation from the influencer isn't like, oh, I got this free thing, let me just tear this apart, right? And tell you all the things that are wrong with it, because you're probably not going to get another one.
Yeah,
right?
true.
And some of them that are even, higher following and subscribers will get contracts, right? With this many posts for this much money and all these different kind of things. So yeah, I think that's kind of a great discussion. And maybe the influencers work in an area where like people forget to think about that part of it, the business side behind the posts. So thinking like, oh, that person uses it, it must be all good, right? I think there's some great points. Thanks, Paige. So the big question that's still lingering out there, Lindsay, will let you tackle this one, is how do you pick then, right? Which influencer?
Yeah, that's actually kind of segue what you're saying about yes, like social media influencing can be fun because like, oh, you're just posting fun videos and all that, but there's actually more strategic side to things, especially like in a PR lens or a business lens, you want to make sure that they are professional about it in a way that won't get them canceled, because I know that's something that happens a lot nowadays. And so in my research, I kind of dove into like what are some tips and tricks of looking into the best influencer.
As we've discussed who social media influencers are and their impact on marketing, let's talk about how to identify the best social media influencers. There are many influencers out there, but here are a few tips to keep in mind. First, from a scholarly article titled "The Power of Beauty Influencers in Building Positive Brand Images" suggests that popularity, credibility, appearance, personality, behavior, and brand image are critical for effective influencers. Next, you want someone who falls under these 3 pillars of influencer characteristics, which are being a content creator, attracting engagement, and influencing consumer decisions. Along with these elements, an overview of the marketing funnels model from Sprout's social media tool website is a great support in finding the best social media influencer. This is a tool that can help you know the role of a social media influencer and how they can best support your marketing efforts. We will continue to discuss how effective influencers are and how to identify them. For Stratazine, I'm Lindsay Watcott.
Yeah, so I guess what I was looking for was just like, again, marketing is a big world and social media is not going to go away. It's a new way, like in the last decade, of how to bring out your brands and how to be noticed. And so like with the marketing funnel, like one of the big things is like awareness and like being able to like get people to advocate for your brand and for your products. And so I guess my question is like from those things that was on the video or just in general, like what do you guys personally think is like the best, most important thing when you come across influencers?
That's really hard. I think like one of the one of the portions that you talked about was the appeal of like how many people are engaging in your content. I believe that's probably one of the most important things, because all of us have algorithms on our phones, whether we like it or not, like we are being watched. That opens up a whole other topic. But with that, when you can constantly engage in this specific type of people and you watch the exact same stuff, that's going to encourage your phone to pull up the similar things. So I feel like being engaged and like having a lot of followers improves that and is, in my opinion, like the most beneficial to consider.
I feel like for me, like we keep talking about seeing how relatable they are and how much they show their real life. If I see an influencer that has similar values as me or beliefs as me, like me being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, if I see an influencer that is also a member and maybe they are talking about, there's one for a Come Follow Me study podcast. And so I like watching her things because I understand the things that she's talking about and I know that she has similar values and beliefs as me. And so I'm gravitated towards that. And so I think whatever it may be, whether it's a political stance or whatever else it is, if it's something that you already agree with, I feel like it's a lot easier to want to watch and to want to be like captivated by that.
Yeah, I do think that like our values play more of a role than we think. There's an influencer, I don't know if you guys follow them, but it's this family, it's like Full M House. And they live close. They like come to Rexburg all the time, but like in my mind, I would trust almost anything that they post, and I'm like, I don't know why, but it's probably because the same religious values, same family values, and things like that. And so I guess it just depends on the person, because I think I'm on a different side of Instagram than someone who lives in Florida and is not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints like I am is. So I do think that the algorithm does play a huge role in kind of what influencers are influencing us.
I think that brings up kind of a common theme throughout this is for the average social media, browser or doom scroll or whatever you want to call it, there's the influencer side, but then there's also the strategy behind it, right? And how do we pick and how do we connect trust and emotions to this? And does it work, right? Like if we're small business owners or we operate in a medium-sized market, like should we spend money on this way to better connect with our customers or the people who are coming to our events or things like that? So I think that's kind of a good theme that you've all kind of brought up about social media is there's a difference in having social media and then using social media on the relationship connection, more maybe business side of some of these brands and companies where, yeah, maybe this is a viable strategy for advertising, right? We're not just posting so that our family members can keep up with them. The people we've been talking about are posting more for persuasive reasons, right? To grow followings, to better relationships with their target audience. So I think it's been great to chat and kind of point out some of these things that maybe your average person just on Instagram or TikTok doesn't really spend a lot of time thinking about because they just like the content, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but there is a side behind this that is very highly strategic that we've got to think about. So thanks for joining us on this episode of Stratazine. It was a great discussion. I'm glad to be with you today, and we'll catch you next time.